Okay guys, welcome back to the LastGameHunter. This will be my first at what I will call a Be Quiet edition water cooling shootout. Now Be Quiet does not have water cooling in North America at this point in time. So why is Be Quiet behind this? Well, I just wanted to give them a shout out because of the simple fact of they're powering this test bench. So Be Quiet was gracious enough when I reached out and I said, hi guys, I'm building a test bench and I want Be Quiet's product on this. So Be Quiet, straight power 11 series power supply. In this case, I'm using their 650 watt on the test bench because that's more than enough for this test bench. Their Silent Wing 2s are also on here due to one, they're silent, two, they're very efficient, and they're very durable, long-lasting fans. So they're also, if I put a water cooler on this bench and I'm not doing a test where I'm using other products, then I'm probably going to put their fans on there to be just, because at this point they are the sponsor for this test bench moving forward. So anytime you hear me say the Be Quiet test bench, it is right there. Be Quiet had their name on there now because I put it there. So guys, welcome to the Be Quiet test bench. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, I normally don't like to plug too much, and they didn't ask me to do that. I just want to make that clear. I did it, and I asked them for their product on my test bench because I've been using a lot of Be Quiet product, doing a lot of reviews with them, and I love their stuff. So why would I not ask what I love to power my test bench? So, moving forward. This test bench is powered by an AMD Ryzen 2600X. So I wanted to be a little more current, or as much current as possible without, breaking the pockets. So it's a 2600X, 16 gigs of XPG from ADATA, 3200 RAM. Right now, all of my bench testing and tests anytime I do this are running with a RX 580 video cards, as I have a few of those for doing builds, tests, and shootouts. I just thought it was a roundabout card that I got a great deal on, so I bought a few of those for this type of situation. Unless, of course, we're doing a G processor or anything like that with the APU built in. So what we have here, and I want to see, because I know I'm going to get some comments here, people are going to be saying, why am I putting a 360 Deepcool against Corsair's iQue H100i RGB Pro XT? Well, to make it fair, this is $180 Canadian AIO. This is $109 AIO. So to be fair, I want it to be, let's say, half the price. And right now, this guy's on sale for $89, or at least when I purchased it, it is. I'll put links to both these products in descriptions below. So if you are needing a 240 or you need a 360 or whatever, you just want to save money, or you want to buy the Corsair brand, maybe you're a Corsair fan, maybe you love Deepcool, the links will be below. So what I have done is we tested everything factory. So we're testing the Corsair, factory fans, factory everything. Oh, and another thing to make clear, the motherboard and everything is out of the box, plugged in, no fans being turned up, cranked, or anything. This is all based on what you would get as a purchaser at home, building your computer even for your first time. You know nothing about computers. And then you put it together and you're like, wow, it runs. And you put your water cooler on. Now, so what I did, I made sure everything was factory. So I wanted the out-of-the-box experience that the average Joe would get. Not us guys that can overclock and step things up and make the fans go to a certain point where we're perfect with the decibel level and so on. I try to do reviews and shootouts for the average and everyday person. We know there's a lot of tech heads out there, and they talk a lot of and even sometimes I'm lost at what they say. So I try to make things a lot easier. So what I did, we did Corsair with factory fans and Deepcool with factory fans. So we did what we call a push setup. That is when the air is being pushed through the rad. Now, if you've watched other videos online, and I'll tell you right now, I didn't bother with a pull system because push or pull might make a difference in 1 degree. Literally, it's not a big difference. So no sense in me doing pull results. So I did push results. So fans pushing through on both. Then we did the push-pull system. So what we did with push-pull was we added fans to the back on both units using the same brand name fans, which I'm not going to get into right now because that is another video. And those fans would be pulling the air then from the push. So you would have air coming in, and the other fans would be exhausting that air. So you're putting more air into your computer case if need be. Or in such cases, technically trying to make your radiators run cooler. And we'll find out if that worked. Another thing that I did, and I noticed, was when I do results, so bench testing, so we're going to use Blender, Cinebench R20, and Passmark. So I wanted to use 3 different benchmarks. I know Passmark is not very hard on the system versus the other 2, but numbers are very important, and they all do give numbers based on, if you're doing a Passmark score against a Passmark score, they're based on each other. So that is accurate. And if you do a Blender score against Blender and Cinebench versus Cinebench, you're getting the scores that you want based on each benchmarking software. So I did 3 to make sure that every test came out concurrent. Is this the same situation when I push it harder and push it harder and push it lightly? So what I did was we had the recording. You're going to see a bit of the stuff up here right now. This is actually OCCT. That's what I use for burning stuff in, testing stuff, running for more than 10 minutes, checking to see if hardware is going to fail, that kind of thing. Now all the software I'm using is completely free. You can download it completely free and use it. I can leave links below even to all that software. If you ask me, I'll put it there. So what I've done is when you're recording, let's say I have hardware monitor in the background, and I have Windows recording all of the information. So I got 3 things going on: benchmark, hardware monitor, and Windows is recording the data. So I'm making a video at the same time. Of course your benchmark numbers are going to dive. So what we did full testing, doing recording, and then I did testing not recording. Now, in the not recording, I didn't record temperatures because the worst case temperatures were already done. What I wanted to know was, does the water cooling give you better performance? That is another key. So guys, let's check out the results. I've done a lot of note-taking here. This took me a couple days to get all this data, and I redid it because I was like, is this real? Is this right? And I gotta say, there's no wrong or right way to go here with these radiators, these AIOs. The Corsair, I'm very impressed with. For a 240, it held its weight. I got to say, because realistically, we're putting it up an unfair game here. This has better dissipation of air because of being a bigger AIO radiator and an extra fan. So, should it have won? Well, that was the reasoning for this video. One, I want to know which AIO I want to put in my new gaming system to show you guys, because I want to get that done soon. I think my video card is even coming on Monday. So, about 2 days away. So anyway, the results were pretty impressive. So in Blender, the Corsair on push was staying around max temps of 69. Never went over 69 degrees Celsius, which was 156 Fahrenheit for anybody watching from the US. But I don't think you guys judge by that. I think you do the C, the Celsius, as well as us when it comes to computers. Then we did Cinebench R20, and here's where it got really interesting. So I did this is when I started really looking at performance. So under load, recording, doing everything, we had a max temperature of 72 degrees. So it went up. As I actually thought Blender was going to be the harder thing to run, to be honest. So there was more heat created in Cinebench R20. And we got a score of 2964. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So then we stopped the recording in the background, got rid of hardware monitor. Nothing's running in the background now. Fresh install of Windows. The Windows that's on the test bench is literally just some tool icons. Fresh install. Nothing's running other than maybe Windows Defender or whatever. And there's no games, I don't think, installed on this one. This thing's pretty open. And we're going to have to put some games on in the near future, of course, for frames per second testing and so on and so forth, which we'll get to later on when we need to. But we scored 3023. Now we went from 2964 on water, on the same radiator, the same system, everything, to 3023. So now my performance went up. Then pass mark. So in pass mark, we reached temps of 65 degrees. I didn't think pass mark actually pushed the system enough to even do that, but it did. So we hit 65 top degrees, so 149 Fahrenheit. Pass mark score for with everything recording, everything in the background was 147.64. And then with nothing recording in the background, 149.10. So you see the difference here. We're getting performance boosts big time, which is really cool. So now we're going to go down to the Deepcool in push. So that was the Corsair in push. Now we're going to go the Deepcool in push. So the Deepcool in push configuration, which is just the 3 fans, in Blender was 66 degrees top. So that was the highest it went. So on the Corsair, it was 69 degrees. In the push configuration on the Deepcool, 66. So there's a winner right there. Now the question is the points. How did it do? Under load, to compare it, the Corsair was at 5 minutes with push, and the Deepcool gave us okay, Deepcool on push was 4:47. Let me get that right. 4 minutes, 47 seconds. So we shaved off over 50 seconds running a little cooler off the Deepcool. So now we know cooler equals better performance. And I'll explain how this is working out for this 2600X. The cooler, you can keep your 2600X, it'll stay in boost. So if you can keep your 2600X in boost mode, and that's where a fan is not going to cut it in most cases. I'm not going to say a fan can't, because a fan can. But what I noticed was when a fan is cooling the system and you get the same results, I always have a better benchmark score on water. So what's happening is water is moving that heat away faster than a fan. Whether the temps come out the same or not, something is going on. I'm able to keep it in boost mode. So that's pretty interesting. When we took everything off, so it was just Blender running in the background, that's it. We scored we got it down to 4 minutes, 38 seconds. So we shaved off another 11 minutes. Or 11 seconds, sorry. Whew, 11 minutes, that'd be pretty bad. 11 seconds. So now we're going to go to Cinebench R20 on push. So we're push on this. We reached a max temp of 65. That's actually really good. So 149 Fahrenheit. Doing very well, very well. I don't think I need to say Fahrenheit. Again, I say that everybody seems to do computers in Celsius. I think when they come out of the box, no matter where they're being shipped to, it's Celsius. So our score of 2968 with everything running in the background. If we go back to the Corsair, we did 2964. Very impressive. That's only, I guess we'll call it 4 points. 4 points between the two. Now you see why I picked it. Really doing a good job. So now we do nothing running in the background. We scored 3042 on push on the Deepcool, and 30-23. So with nothing running in the background, the Deepcool outperformed it by a margin. Now this isn't light jumps or light speed ahead here. And I'll get to the pros and cons in just a minute. So now we're past mark. On the Deepcool on push, we're at 63 degrees. So it came down, it was at 65 on the Corsair. So not a big jump. So we're not talking like massive, massive, massive dumps in cooling here. This 240 is holding its own quite well. We had a score of 149.11. Now this is where things get a little more interesting. So on pass mark, 149.11 on the Deepcool, and on this one here on push was 147.64. So this actually, or sorry, the Deepcool actually killed this best performance. So when I had nothing running in the background, this scored 149.10. With everything running in the background, it scored 149.11. So different programs, different things, and this is why I wanted to use 3 different benchmarks. When I had no load, nothing running on this except for the benchmark, we scored 15221. Light jump, boom. That was when this shined very, very much. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do push-pull. Now if you don't know what push-pull is when we take another fan, we'll just, for sake of argument, it's got a fan on it, right? And we put it behind the radiator to pull the air that's being pushed through the rad. And that is a push-pull configuration. So 2 fans were added to the Corsair, and 3 fans were added to the Deepcool, to be fair. Now I know that's 2 more fans, or sorry, yeah, 2 more fans more than the Corsair. But in fairness, that's the shootout. And it gets interesting again. So now we're in push-pull configuration, and we'll go blender. This guy still hit a max temperature of 69 degrees. It didn't get cooler at all. And I ran it 3 times on cold shutdown. So push-pull did nothing on the Corsair. So I'll get to that. So 69 degrees and scored 439. So 4 minutes, 39 seconds. Blender on the Deepcool on push-pull was at 65 degrees. Did come down in temperature. So on push, it was only 69. On push-pull, it was 65. Now we have something happening here. This is pushing air, whereas this didn't really do much different. Now the score was 4 minutes 43. So we were 4 minutes 43 versus 4 minutes 47. So still not a big performance jump, even though this was running cooler. You see where this is pretty impressive, putting a 240 against a 360. Now we're running the system without anything running in the background. The Corsair scores 4 minutes 39 seconds. Very nice at 69 degrees. Now we go down to the Deepcool and running nothing in the background, 4 minutes 36 seconds. So again, not a major benching difference here. That's actually pretty impressive for the Corsair at this point, considering sizes. Now another thing I want to point out too is pump size. The Deepcool definitely has a bigger pump. There's no doubt about it. And the Corsair has a smaller, thinner pump. Not sure if that makes a big difference, because it all comes down to the quality of the pump and how much flow it's got. So I'm not going to debate that so much, as we're not seeing massive, massive temperature differences here. And also we're taking a budget, I guess we want to call it Deepcool. I'm very impressed for budget, that's for sure, versus we're going to call it premium, or the mother of AIOs. So now we're going to go to Cinebench R20. In Cinebench R20, this guy still topped out at 69 degrees, but stayed stable around 66. I wanted to note that. It came down a lot and stayed kind of around the 66, 67 degree mark, but it did hit 69 degrees, and I was supposed to record top temperatures. So it scored 2,000 968. Okay, so that is 4 points more than it scored without the second fan. So now we've gained 4 points, even though the temps technically stayed the same. Very interesting. That actually is very interesting. Then we go down to Cinebench R20 on the 360 from Deepcool, and we stay at 66 degrees. So we're cooler, and we score 2982. So definitely an improvement over the Corsair. Is it enough? That's to each of you guys to say, and to who can run a 360 versus a 240. Now we go to nothing running in the background. Nothing at all running in the background. Corsair scores 3045. Look at the leap there. Nothing running in the background, 3045. The Deepcool hits 3063. Still a jump, still a lead, and I guess in these smaller numbers, that's actually a pretty decent jump. Pass mark. Push-pull. Corsair scores at 65 degrees. So now we've maintained still 65 degrees. Its original push system was 65. Push-pull, 65. But did maintain a temperature around 52. So it did calm down. It actually gave us a much cooler result. So, scoring 14,872 on the Corsair versus it's 147.64. So it went up quite a bit. So even though the temperature max didn't really change, the overall temperature did. And that's one thing I was trying to get at. And it actually did outperform the push system, even though it's not making a much difference in temperature. So then we go down to the Deepcool 360 and 59 degrees steady, so a max temp of 59, so quite a bit different in temperatures there. And it scored 149.47, so 14,947, outperforming the Corsair by a margin. Now we go back to nothing running in the background. Corsair scores 151.47. Jumpsy. It did a jumpsy, absolutely. At staying around the 65 to 52 degrees, so very impressive. Pass mark score on the Deepcool, 152.76, so still the winner. May not be enough, but it's the winner. So at 59 degrees. Hey guys, welcome back to the pros and cons part of this episode. And we're going to start with the Corsair. One of the pros definitely is the size of the product. This unit, as a 240, is going to fit most mid-tower, even some, I guess, small form factors for sure. And like any form factor that was designed to take a radiator should fit it. But there's getting into a different category there. But most mid-towers to big towers, of course, are going to take a 240 rad system. The other pro, of course, quality of the fans. The fans are definitely the winner as far as no noise whatsoever. Even when they revved up, I kind of felt like I was using some Be Quiet products at that point, which was very impressive to me because I haven't been able to beat the quality of a Be Quiet fan, and the Corsair comes pretty darn close. Now, I've never disputed Corsair's fans before. I just find price for what you get. There are other solutions, and that'll be a different video for sure. And even in this video, you're going to see, of course, the difference between $180 versus the 360 and my thoughts here. So, pros were size, the fan quality is definitely there, and the pump looks sharp. The pump really does look sharp. I'm very impressed with the look of the pump. I've always liked the Corsair pump look. It's smaller, sleeker, but the con of that system so far is there was noise to that pump. I found like it like an aquarium sound pump, like when it needs to be cleaned. Not loud, so you probably won't hear it in your case build, but it definitely was there. The other con for me was the airflow coming out the radiator. So if you're bringing air in from the outside and you had no fans on the inside, the airflow coming out was very, very limited. And if you want your components cooled down, that to me was a uh-oh. Even in push-pull configuration, that unit failed to really, in my opinion, move air. Now, again, it could be the rad's tightness, who knows, but I found that's important to me. It didn't pull a lot of air through the radiator. Other than that, I don't like the software. I don't like the fact that I have to USB plug it in, but a pro to the USB plug-in is if you have an older system, you do not have the capability of RGB on your motherboard, then you still have RGB, which looks really cool. So the other con, of course, talking about RGB, is the no RGB fans at $180 level. That to me is a no-no. You got to spend another $50 to have RGB fans on this for the exact same unit. Pros on the Deepcool were the coolness of the system. I guess is the easy way to put it. This did run a lot cooler. The airflow coming out the back of the radiator, you can feel for quite a distance. It's very important to me versus the 240 where I found the airflow very limited coming out of the rad. So if you were relying on airflow coming out through the rad because it was pulling the air in from outside for the colder air and you wanted to go across your components, well, the Deepcool is definitely the hands down winner there. I don't know if there's a certain difference in the tightness of the radiators for airflow, but even in push-pull configuration, the Corsair failed on that, whereas I put a piece of paper to see the wind movement of the paper, and on the 360 the paper basically just stayed like this. It was pushing it. So very impressive. That was a huge win for me. I have room for a 360 in my case, and that part is extremely important. The water cooler is bigger, but really quiet. Even in the open air bench, I don't hear this water cooler run ever. That's very impressive. The Corsair had that sound. The Deepcool, no sound. So very impressed with that. It does come with a RGB cable if you want it to be completely motherboard controlled. This system is not ARGB, which is probably its smallest downfall, but it is RGB and it is controlled from your main board. But you also do have a switch, like a little dongle for clicking that can wire in as well if you don't want or don't have a modern motherboard. So if you don't have a modern motherboard to plug into, both systems will solve your problem by this plugging into the controller, and this will actually plug into your USB port on your board, solving that issue for anybody with older generation systems. So both these units are great for that aspect. Installation, gets pretty easy. You take off the plastic brackets, you put the AMD mounting hardware on the cooler, bolt it right into the factory AMD backplate. That's it. Very impressive. Very easy to install. So of course, just a quick recap. The airflow on the Deepcool surpasses the Corsair for output air to your components. That to me was one of the biggest, literally, I can't stress that enough how important that is to me. And then we'll go to the cons. The fans on the radiator are definitely louder than the Corsair fans. We know deep down, yes, these Deepcool fans probably move a lot more air than the Corsair, but design versus design, that's where they lack it. Not saying they're bad fans, not saying that you're really going to hear it in a case, but again, in the open air, I got upset with the noise from the pump. In the open air, I can hear the fans. Not extremely loud, but I hear them. And of course, the biggest con of any 360 radiator is, will your case support it? Most cases will support it in the front or above. But a lot of cases, if you're into mid-tower configurations, there's a chance that the top might, but the front won't, or it just won't fit, and that's where the 240 comes in. So guys, overall, both products were solid. Both products were very efficient. I was very happy overall. Would I suggest buying one over the other? In my opinion, I'm going to use the Corsair in my build that I'm working on for my own system. Now in the future, there is something else I'm looking at to replace that, but for now, that will be the unit of choice, and we'll see how I'm going to put it in and what configuration I'm going to use for air. The Corsair is a good buy if it was $100 to $120. This is just my opinion. I believe that you're getting a better fan product, but overall, it's to be judged whether the pump is better than the other. I can't say that. I just know that the Corsair pump has noise and the Deepcool one doesn't. That could be a good or a bad thing. Maybe pumps are supposed to make a bit of noise. It sounded kind of like a dirty pump that you would have in your aquarium, that sound. And that to me, I never liked in my aquariums when I had them. I don't like it in my pump. It's not overbearing, but that is a thing that I just wanted to bring up over again. And guys, I just gotta say, you're not going to go wrong with either of these water coolers. If you have room for the 360, save your money, get the 360, enjoy the RGB and the airflow. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the shootout between two water coolers. It was my first time doing a water cooler shootout. Bear with me on this stuff. I'm still, the notes and everything, I really tried on this. I want to make sure that I'm doing as accurate as possible for you guys without being too techy. So till next time, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I solved some of your problems, and maybe if you have the room, I saved you some money. Till next time, game over.